On the news, National Industrial Court orders ASU to call off 7-month-old strike. Court ruling on ASU strike a win-win, Nigerian students react. Wike's camp withdraws from Atiku's campaign, insists IU must go. Many thanks for joining us on News Now this evening. I am Abisola Adebayo. The National Industrial Court of Nigeria has ordered the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, to call off its ongoing nationwide strike. James Igwe, who is the counsel to the government, prayed the court for an interlocutory injunction restraining ASU from taking further steps as regards the strike, pending the determination of the substantive suit currently in court. Ruling on the application on Wednesday, Justice Polycarp Aman granted the request, explaining that the strike is detrimental to public university students who cannot afford to attend private tertiary institutions. He said the TDA mandates workers not to embark on strike once an issue has been referred to the industrial court.
Educational development has been halted, particularly in public universities in Nigeria, which ought not to be, because when that fundamental pillar on which development rests is halted for 7 months, it means the entire economic, the entire social development is also halted, which ought not to be. So what the court did was to agree with us that an interlocutory injunction has to be granted against the Academic Staff Union of Universities, their agents, privies, or whatever name they are described, from continuing with the strike pending the hearing and determination of the substantive suit. That's in accordance with rule of law.
The court has ruled that members of ASU are restrained from continuing the strike action and that they should return back to the classrooms pending the determination of the substantive suit. As per the next action, there are quite a number of options open to the union. We will study the ruling with the legal team, and then we will adopt the most appropriate option.
Well, to make more sense of the court ruling, I earlier spoke to a legal practitioner, Barrister Monday Obani. I started by asking him what he makes of the pronouncement of the court.
Since both parties have approached the court for resolution of this dispute, let all parties, go back, let lecturers resume their lectures, while whatever they have tabled before the court will be looked into, and then the court will be in a position to make an unbiased pronouncement after looking at all the issues that have been ventilated. And so the court is looking at the economic situation of the country. The court is also looking at the welfare of the students, also looking even at the welfare of the lecturers themselves who have been on strike for almost 7 months now without pay. And so saying, look, in the light of this, you guys have come before us in order to have this matter ventilated. Can you suspend your strike, go back to lecture? Let's look at the issues you have brought. And if you have a very good case, we will look at it and probably give judgment in your favor. So to me, it's clearly a great relief for the students who have been at home for many months. And I think the lecturers themselves also, most of them will heap a sigh of relief in the light of what has happened with the court's pronouncement.
So the question now is, what if at the end of the whole legal issue, the federal government still does not yield to the demands of ASU?
The issue is that the matter has been brought before the court now, and the court will look at issues that are before them and then probably make a pronouncement. Now, it will be very unfortunate for the federal government of Nigeria not to obey the court order if a judgment is given in favor of ASU. It will be very unfortunate. Of course, ASU has a right to embark another strike. Of course, when they did this one, a lot of people supported them. Because what have they been crying for? What are they arguing for? What are they actually asking the federal government to do is to make the university education, just like our educational sector, to be one of the best in the world. Because our educational sector has collapsed. So they are saying, get our educational sector revived, get it reformed, and then attract the best hands and have our students stay here to study. Or everyone wants all his children to be abroad.
Now, peradventure, if ASU decides not to follow this particular court order, what exactly would be the implication?
I know that Femi Falana is a lawyer, and I know him to be one of the top senior lawyers in this country. And I would never expect, and it's not within contemplation that Femi will advise ASU not to obey the court judgment, asking them to go back to work. And I think that they will. They ought to, because they also went to court over this issue. So if you believe in the supremacy of the court, if you believe in the authority of the court, if you believe and have confidence in the court, if the court now has looked at the issue and say go back to work, I think that ASU's idea or knowledge or understanding would be, let us respect the court decision while they look into the matter meritoriously. That would be my advice to them. Let them not disobey this court order, because it does not portend well if we criticize government for not obeying court judgment, and we, the citizens, also engage in such a habit of disobedience to court orders. That will not be encouragable.
The National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS, has described the ruling of the National Industrial Court that the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, should go back to work while the case involving it and the federal government is being heard as a win-win situation for all the stakeholders in the matter. The National President of NANS, Usman Barambo, while speaking to newsmen on Wednesday, described the court ruling as a sort of progress on the resolution of the face-off. He, however, maintained that the federal government must not see the ruling as a victory over ASU. Meanwhile, his reaction came few hours after members of the association threatened not to allow any political campaign hold across the country till students of public universities return to classrooms. Chairman of NANS National Task Force, Ojo Olumide, made this known while speaking at a press conference in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital. He maintained that if the government fails to conclude all the negotiations and agreements with ASU within the frame of 2 weeks, there will be more protests and rallies all over the country.
A lot of Nigerian students have lost a complete academic section due to these unwarranted disputes between the federal government and ASU, not counting those that have lost their lives or involved in one casualty or the other due to the protracted ASU strike. To us, the ASU strike is germane, and the only way to save public higher education across the nation from total collapse is to properly invest in the educational sector. The leadership of National of Nigerian Students will continue to grant all the nation's public assets, from roads to airports, including Nigerian Port Authority, if the federal government, through the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Labour, fail to resolve with the leadership of the Academic Staff Union of Universities in no distant time. For those misconstruing our struggle, we call on them to see reason with Nigerian students and join us in the struggle to save public education in the country.
Well, to speak more on this, I have on the news with me Opelua Awoyinka, who is the Public Relations Officer of NANS in the Southwest. Thank you so much for joining us on the news. Well, let me start by asking, how exactly would you react to the court's judgment asking ASU to call off the strike while the matter is still in court?
Good evening. My name is Comrade Awoyinka Opelua. It is so unfortunate that ASU has been on strike for over 7 months now, and we are still here. The students are at home, and they are having their future is wasting. So we had a press conference earlier today at Abeokuta, Ogun State. But unfortunately, we received the news that the court had a ruling that ASU should return back to their classrooms. This is just like you didn't pay ASU for the 7 months. This is just like you telling medical doctors that you didn't pay 7 months and tell them to go back to the hospital to treat patients.
That this judgment is actually not the end of the case. It's just an interlocutory injunction asking ASU to allow you guys resume while negotiations with the government continues.
Police said, how can someone that is hungry go back to campus? They're hungry, they've not been paid over 7 months, and they are still there. So the fact is, let's ask ourselves, ASU is not ready to go back to the classrooms. ASU is not ready. That is the problem. ASU is not ready. And the press conference we had today, we practically told them that we are giving the federal government and ASU to resolve. We are giving them 2 weeks to resolve for our students to be back on campus. And if this is if this is not done, then we go strictly on the street and hold everywhere and ground the economy of the country.
Well, we really hope the stakeholders involved in this issue will be able to resolve the crisis before the 2 weeks ultimatum that you have given them. Anyways, Okweluwa Woyinka, the Public Relations Officer of NANS in the Southwest, thank you so much for joining us on the news. Moving on, the Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike's team in the People's Democratic Party (PDP) has pulled out of the campaign council of the party's presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar. Rising from their meeting in Port Harcourt on Wednesday morning, members of the team vowed not to partake in Atiku's campaign activities pending the resignation of the party's national chairman, Iyorchia Ayu. There's details in this next report. One after the other, members of the opposition People's Democratic Party, comprising of the founding members of the party, governors, former ministers and other party leaders arrive at the private residence of the Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike in Port Harcourt, the Rivers State capital. They are here for a crucial meeting after the party unveiled its presidential campaign council, which includes members of the party that are of the opinion that Iyorchia Ayu should not remain the party chairman.
Senator Iyorchia Ayu resigns as the national chairman of the party for an acting chairman of Southern Nigeria extraction to emerge and lead the party on the national campaign. Consequently, we resolve not to participate in the campaign council in whatever capacity until the resignation of Dr. Iyorchia Ayu.
Some members of the group also accused the national chairman of bias, saying he intentionally worked for the emergence of Atiku Abubakar as the party's flag bearer.
For the national chairman, Senator Iyorchia Ayu, to go and embrace Tambuwal, calling him the hero of the convention, which means there was a private arrangement that was done with Tambuwal to shortchange other contestants, including Governor Wike. This is not what we formed the PDP to do for Nigerians. And therefore, we unequivocally ask that Ayu has to step down.
Other members maintain that their position is not negotiable as Ayu's chairmanship undermined the party's unity and constitution, adding that there is a need for urgent restructuring of the party leadership.
They're not different from the things that I mentioned at the Southwest Consultative meeting. We hope that the powers that be will listen to the voice of reason and do the needful.
We are desirous that such kind of excellent governance comes back to this country. But that cannot be achieved unless we have a proper structure of the party as designed by the founding fathers. If we want to restructure Nigeria, we should have the courage to restructure our party.
Although the national chairman has continued to maintain his stance that he will not resign until he completes his 4-year tenure, this decision by the aggrieved members is coming less than 10 days to the official date for candidates to kick off campaign as announced by the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC). Abisola Adebayo, TV360 News. The presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, has announced that he does not have the power to decide the resignation of the party's national chairman, Iyorchia Ayu. Atiku made this known in a statement hours after the camp of Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State pulled out of his presidential campaign council for the 2023 general elections. He maintained that if Ayu is to be removed from office, it must be done in accordance with the laws that set out to be that set out the basis for such removal. The party flag bearer, however, urged members of the party that have stated their resolve to withdraw from the Presidential Campaign Council to have a rethink and retrace their steps. Meanwhile, the Edo State Governor, Godwin Obaseki, has called on political leaders across the country to step up and mitigate the pains of Nigerians caused by poor governance and inefficiency, or expect a surprise from the electorate in the forthcoming 2023 general elections. Obaseki, while speaking to newsmen in Benin City, explained that Nigerians were fed up with the inefficiencies and failure of the government officials and other representatives and would reject them at the polls if nothing is done to change the narrative. He said Nigerians are closely watching the political situation in the country and are ready to shock political parties with their new political orientation.
Nigerians are now getting fed up with government and the people who represent them in government. And you can see that in their reactions on social media and where passions and emotions are headed. So, for us as government, and representatives of our people, I believe we will be hurting ourselves a lot if we fail to ignore these changes that are occurring and believe that things are still the same. That we've seen it before, where the ones are here. Government is for government and the people in government. We will all be shocked as we begin to see. I think democracy is maturing, and people are now beginning to realize that they demand a lot more from the people in government and the people who have responsibility to manage their resources, their collective resources. And thanks to God to technology, thank God to what's happening in the rest of the world, they are going to demand. People are going to go out and vote their interests. Nobody, let's not kid ourselves. Nobody, no political party today can, thumb their chest and say, next elections, we will have clear victory.
The National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, has held a sensitization forum on political broadcasting for stakeholders ahead of the 2023 elections. With focus on national security, press credibility, and professional coverage of the elections, the Commission urged broadcasters to revisit the rules and regulations governing political broadcasting in the country. Some of the speakers who cut across security, regulatory bodies, and broadcasting urged all broadcasters to shun all unprofessional conduct. On his part, the Director General of the NBC, Balarabe Shehu Ilela, explained that the multi-stakeholder forum is geared towards ensuring the smooth conduct of the forthcoming elections.
You do not use your platform to promote certain ideologies that are inimical to national security, or you do not bring people whose ideologies are not in sync with national unity and national cohesion. Or, as a journalist, a broadcaster, you must also understand your environment of operation such that you do not put yourself on harm's way. If on election day, for instance, you are reeling out results that are fake, whereas you know that the results you are taking out are not confirmed by the electoral body, what are you? You are calling for anarchy. You are calling for violence. And we have to minimize such.
What we want to achieve in MBC is to make sure that we have a very good broadcast, coverage during the election, and that should be devoid of any false news or the syndrome of first to break the news, which leads to giving people wrong information, to make sure that whatever they said on their platform is not meant to subvert our democracy, and is meant to bring cohesion, bring together the various segments of our society.
We'll take a break now, but still to come, federal government says no going back on power sector privatization. Details of this story and more right after this break. Welcome back. Here is a recap of some of our top stories tonight. The National Industrial Court of Nigeria has ordered the Academic Staff Union of Universities (ASUU) to call off its ongoing nationwide strike. Ruling on the application on Wednesday, Justice Polycarp Aman granted the request, explaining that the strike is detrimental to public university students who cannot afford to attend private tertiary institutions. He says the TDA mandates workers not to embark on strike once an issue has been referred to the Industrial Court. We also told you that the Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike's camp in the People's Democratic Party (PDP) has pulled out of the campaign council of the party's presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar. Rising from their meeting in Port Harcourt on Wednesday morning, members of the camp vowed not to partake in Atiku's campaign activities pending the resignation of the party's national chairman, Iyorchia Ayu. Well, in case you missed any of our news bulletin or for more updates, do log on to our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Google+, at TV360 Nigeria, on Facebook or at TV360 Online. An estimated 10.5 million children were either orphaned or lost a primary caregiver during the COVID-19 pandemic. This is according to a recent study carried out by JAMA Pediatrics, a medical journal published by the American Medical Association. The study examined the World Health Organization's data on excess mortality as of May 2022, finding that the majority of these children were orphaned, while 3 million children lost a primary caregiver. The study authors thereafter urged public health officials to address the lasting impact of grief on children who have lost the caretakers to the virus, in addition to vaccines as well as prevention. But we'll take another break now and return with more stories in business.
Corruption not in my country. That was a very good business. Yeah. The furniture you brought was very perfect.
Yeah, that's how we roll.
Because let me do you receipts.
Yeah. How much was it again?
1 million naira.
Okay, write 2.5.
The deal was for 1 million naira now.
Okay, write 3 million. I'll give you 500.
Oh no, I don't do business like that now. Yeah.
In that case, give me back my check. Let me go and look for someone that understand business.
Take.
Your loss.
It is only for incorruptible customers. What are you talking?
Now get that.
What kind of this?
You will just die.
No,
you will die.
That is the door. Now get out from here.
Rubbish.
Look, my people. Make not only add money for original invoice price. That's not corruption. Say no. Not in my country. Corruption not in my country.
Welcome back. Simisola Adegun is standing by to give us the latest in the world of business. Over to you, Simi.
Thank you, Abisola. Welcome to business. The federal government has reiterated its resolve and openness to more private sector collaboration as the only viable means of solving Nigeria's energy needs. The Minister for Power, Abubakar Aliyu, made this known at the 9th edition of the Nigeria Energy Conference held in Lagos on Tuesday. While delivering the opening address at the conference, the minister, represented by the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Power, Temitope Fashedemi, emphasized the need for the power sector to boost its access to energy through deeper collaborations with the private sector. According to the minister, such collaboration remained essential towards sustainable energy supply in the country. We'll take a short break here and be back with stock market reports. Negative sentiment influenced trade on the Nigeria Stock Exchange on Wednesday as investors favored alternative assets. The 0.05% decrease also affected the all share index, which declined from previous trading day highs to 49,421,000 basis points. Market activity for Wednesday shows that investors exchanged a total of 581 million volume of shares valued at 590 billion naira in 2,981 deals. Academy Press and NEM Insurance Company made the top decliners with a loss of 6 naira and 91 kobo. Top advancers are Unity Bank and Multiverse Mining and Exploration, earning 3 naira 57 kobo. Now, at the close of trading, the market's record positive year-to-date also decreased to 15.70%, so it's a loss on all fronts. Now, global equities, on another hand, rose on Wednesday thanks to sales of assets like gold and bonds. You see here that our select stock US FTSE and UK's FTSE and US Dow Jones are in the greens at 0.63% and 0.49%, while Japan's Nikkei is in the red at 1.36%. Now that's all on stock. Back to you, Abisola.
Thank you very much, Simisola. The World Health Organization says it has commenced investigation into the source of Ebola outbreak in Uganda. In a statement by WHO's Regional Director for Africa, Matshidiso Moeti, a joint team comprising of WHO officials and the Ugandan health authorities have started an investigation after the East African country declared an outbreak of Ebola. According to her, WHO is deploying staff to the affected area and has dispatched supplies to support the care of patients. The Apex Health Body also disclosed that there are currently 8 suspected cases who are receiving care in a health facility. In sports, Russia will not take part in the draw for qualifying for Euro 2024 after they were banned by UEFA. This situation was confirmed by the country's football federation on Wednesday. The Russian national team and Russian clubs were banned from international competitions earlier this year by UEFA following the invasion of Ukraine. Russia was also banned from the upcoming World Cup in Qatar by FIFA after the team had originally qualified for the European qualifying playoffs. The Russian women's side were also kicked out of this year's Euro in England, with their place taken by Portugal. Well, that's the size of our bulletin this evening. Many thanks for watching. I am Abisola Adebayo. Bye for now.